What's up guys, that guy with the pencil here, back to discuss another fight that at first sounds interesting until you actually think about the matchup. King Bradley, or Wrath the Furious, versus Meliodas, the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins. Two Wraths of their respective series who happen to be swordsmen and even leaders of groups of warriors, and both of them have special eyes? It sounds great, but then you look at their stats and abilities and quietly sit back and understand that the actual gap in their capabilities makes it impossible for Bradley to actually take this. I will lay out Bradley right now. For power, he isn't bad at all, scaling well to powerful alchemists like Edward and even above some of the weaker homunculi. And for the benefit of the doubt, let's say he scales directly to Pride, who is town level while scaling off of an amped Kimberly. For speed, he does have a calc that puts him around 6 times the speed of sound, but let's give him the pure benefit of the doubt and say that he's still holding back, since these are still just fodder soldiers, and let's say he's at least twice as fast when truly going all out. So a town level hypersonic plus threat, he's looking pretty darn good. He's also a master blade wielder, and all around just a weapons expert, being able to use everything from 1 blade to 2 daggers, but he specializes in dual swords, so we're giving him that for this battle. Then he has his homunculus attribute, the ultimate eye. This eye is extremely dangerous, as it allows him to read any situation he finds himself in with extreme detail, allowing him to predict and respond to an opponent's move before they can even make it. Combine this with his years of combat training and experience throughout an entire war, overall Bradley is pretty snap for what amounts to a slightly augmented human. His opponent though, that's where he runs into trouble. Beginning of series Meliodas is an absolute monster relative to a lot of other verses. For his raw power, he's easily mountain level in base, easily reacting to and defeating an Albion, slicing it apart with sheer air pressure from a good weapon. He also fights on par with Diane, Bond, and King, all mountain level fighters in their own rights, equalizing his durability with his attack potency. For his basic speed, everyone knows it, he casually reacted to lightning multiple times, and this puts him over 2,000 times the speed of sound. When actually going serious, he's most likely faster, and if he truly needs the speed, he can utilize Demon Mark to at least double his strength and speed, being able to casually blitz and body Physical Hunt and Bond, who had all of Meliodas' strength on top of his own. So, a mountain level, massively hypersonic beast running around here. Then, he's also a master blade wielder, having been fighting with blades for over 3,000 years at extremely high levels. Since we're giving Bradley his best weapons, we'll give Meliodas Lost Vein. In terms of special abilities Meliodas has, there's his basic demon biology, the ability to manipulate dark matter, his regeneration, and flight, also giving him the ability to consume souls. Then you have Meliodas' specific abilities, such as the Hellblaze, which allows him to just coat himself, weapons, or just throw out an eternal dark flame that negates an immortal's regeneration. Then he has full counter, which will just flat out be useless against Bradley, who doesn't have any magical properties to his attacks. However, then he has Lost Vein's ability, Physical Clone. This means that Meliodas can create 4 clones without any detriment to his stamina. However, these clones vary in power. 1 clone is only half as strong as Meliodas, and 4 clones are only about an eighth as strong as the real Meliodas. However, I do believe they are just as fast as the real Meliodas, as despite their lower power level, they are always able to react in tandem with the real Meliodas, who should be much faster than them. And they can all transform to Demon Mark just like Meliodas can, so if the power gap is at all relevant in this fight, they can make up for it with that. Now, I think we see where the problem lies here. Wrath, or Bradley, whatever you want to call him, is hopelessly outmatched by Meliodas, even when Meliodas is suppressing himself like he would do against Gilthunder. Meliodas would massively blitz even a hyped up Bradley, in multiple times over. Even if I were to use a hypothetical Prime Bradley, who for some reason was 10 times stronger and faster than the Bradley we currently have, Meliodas would still be easily outpacing and outpowering him, even with all his precognition. The raw gap in speed here will leave him open to be easily destroyed. The clones, nor the Hellblaze, nor the demon biology would even be necessary to defeat Bradley. But, if the stats are equalized, this battle gets massively more interesting, because then the precog and skill that Bradley has comes in to support him well against Meliodas. Meliodas is far from unskilled, but precognition is not something Meliodas has really dealt with on panel. However, I do believe he will adapt quickly. Meliodas' skill set will keep him in the fight long enough to develop and evolve to match Bradley's fighting speed and precognition. It would kind of be how Ling and Greedling were able to hold their own against Wrath long enough that they could do something to him. The battle would begin where Wrath would be holding an advantage just like in those 2 fights. Even if Meliodas loses an arm, it can easily come back later. If anything, Meliodas can steal technique from Demon Hendrickson and just fire off a Hellblaze from a dismembered arm while he holds Bradley's attention. Or he could throw out clones to overwhelm and off-guard Bradley, who cannot react to what he cannot see. Or in a clash, Meliodas could just throw out the Hellblaze and light Bradley on fire. And then Bradley's sword just dies. Remember, Bradley typically is a fighter who deals with normal alchemists and fighters who need to do something before activating their powers. The reason Scar managed to do so well was because he could literally just throw out an attack with no warning. Even still, he had to touch the ground. Meliodas can just summon the Purgatory Flame on command, so if Meliodas feels pressured, he wards off Bradley with the flame, then activates clones, then gangs up on Bradley. And I don't think Bradley can really deal with that, because when you think about it, this would leave Bradley exposed to every single attack that Meliodas has, because Meliodas would really do something that is rarely seen, because he never really has to do it with Godolphin, but the Hellblaze in a fight like this is really great space control and really great battlefield control, because whenever Meliodas just wants to clear his head to think for a second, all he has to do is drop down the Hellblaze and Bradley can do nothing about it. He can't negate it, he's not immortal, and even if he was, the Hellblaze would stop that. So every single option that Bradley has, even if he's pressuring Meliodas to his down last breath, even though I think Meliodas would be able to hold off Bradley for a long while, I feel like Meliodas could just easily at one point just be like, well, let me just coat my bleeding Hellblaze real quick, and all he has to say is enchant Hellblaze, and that's it. If he even has to say that, he could just throw it out like he did against Zeldris. He literally just leaped up into the air against Zeldris, and well, it was a phantom clone of Zeldris, but he didn't know that, so he just leaped up into the air, threw his palm out, and suddenly, bam, a wave of unkillable, a wave of unstoppable dark fire that can't be put out and even kills immortals. Bradley's strong, and Bradley's fast, but he can't fight fire with, like, no fire. Like, he couldn't do anything in that situation. That's where Bradley runs into that big issue, because, honestly, in a hand-to-hand sword fight, what? In a regular sword fight, I feel like Bradley has a really good advantage because of that precog and the fact that he'll start with wielding two weapons, so Meliodas will just automatically be on the defensive, though we've seen Meliodas deal with fighting multiple people at once that also aren't even just wielding swords. Like, he's fought against whole trios of people, and of course he's squared off with the 10 Commandments, or the 9 Commandments at the time. But I feel like Bradley would be able to pressure Meliodas, but Meliodas' own skill and training and countless experience, literally 3,000 years of it, would just be like, whoa, okay, so this guy is reading me really, really well, but he's getting close, and that's the thing. If Bradley has some sort of ranged attack that he could throw at Meliodas, then maybe we could talk about it. But considering the fact that Meliodas literally has complete control of when he wants the battle to end by just one attack, because there's nothing Bradley can do against the Hellblaze, then I can't see him doing it. Even if Bradley, even though they're equal stats right now, so even if Bradley manages to, like, let's say he outreads, blitzes Meliodas, and slices his arm off, Meliodas is gonna be like, darn, bro, that sucks. Could I have that back though? And then the regeneration is just gonna pull it right back to him. And the thing is, Bradley's never necessarily dealt with anything like Meliodas, because the closest thing he's seen to Meliodas is his fellow homunculi. But even the homunculi can't throw out, like, the closest thing that Bradley has honestly seen to someone like Meliodas is Gluttony. Because Gluttony can regenerate and send out a wave of energy that happens to destroy things. Well, Gluttony traps it in the false portal, but that, regardless to the point, that's the closest thing Bradley's ever seen. And even then, once again, Gluttony's attack is very, very telegraphed. He tears his chest open and fires a beam at you, while Meliodas is, like, quite literally just enchant Hellblaze under his breath, or he just throws it out, and then suddenly Bradley's, even if, let's say Bradley doesn't get hit by it, let's say Bradley's able to dodge it somehow, then if his weapons get touched, he's down weapons. And have we seen Bradley fist fight someone? I'm not sure if we've seen Bradley run his fade with just his fist, but I think he did get hand-to-hand combat training. But regardless, then he's going to be fighting someone with a sword without a sword, and that's just, it's not going to end up good for him doing that. And it's not like, that's the thing, I feel like Bradley's lacking specific tools that would make him do a whole lot better in this fight. He's missing a ranged weapon, he's missing for any way to deal with the Hellblaze, he's missing any situation to just being ganged up on. Because, like I said, even if all the clones are weaker, let's say if we ignore the fact that the clones have always been able to react in tandem with the real Meliodas, who honestly should be upwards of 4 times stronger than them, let's just ignore that. Let's say the clones are that weak. Bradley's, unless he's, well, actually no, Bradley with his ultimate eye in equal stats battle will be able to tell the difference between them because they'll see them all spawn. But the issue is, he won't know that they're a fourth of his true power, so he's just gonna see five Meliodases all charging at him. All of these Meliodases could also easily just be like, enchant Hellblaze! And suddenly they're throwing whole waves of Hellblaze at him. And they could just approach him from 4 angles. And this is if Meliodas wants to keep the fight to the ground. Because I'll admit, Bradley is a super skilled swordsman that loves to pressure people. Like, if you watch all of his fights in the manga, or read all of his fights in the manga and watch his fights in the anime, you can see one of Bradley's main focuses is to get up in his opponent's face and tear them apart, because he's a swordsman. Like, he doesn't really have a ranged option. So since he's forced to lunge in like that, he's always at the whim of Meliodas deciding whether or not to use the Hellblade, deciding whether or not to spawn clones. And the moment, and the thing, here's a big difference too. Bradley gets hit once, that's a serious injury for him. Meliodas gets hit once, and it's a 5-second regeneration. That's another big gap between the two. Meliodas can always come back from, unless Bradley somehow figures out that Meliodas has 7 hearts, and Meliodas allows him to stab him 7 separate times with his swords in the heart, then Meliodas is literally nigh on unkillable for Bradley. Like, Bradley would most likely, and this is if Meliodas is even allowing this, because Meliodas would most likely adapt. He's fighting for 3,000 years. He's definitely run into his fair share of swordsmen, so he's gonna understand Bradley's style too, no matter how much precognition the eye has. Especially since Bradley's gonna need to be relying on the fact that Meliodas is just gonna straight up sword fight him and not do anything else. But Meliodas is literally just gonna be like, okay, this guy keeps rushing up to me, so what I should do, considering maybe Meliodas loses a sword exchange or two, is either force him to calm down by throwing out the Hellblaze and then warding Bradley off, or taking to the air. Meliodas at any moment could just spawn wings and be like, oh, we up here now, and then Bradley's kind of just stuck, because what's he gonna do? He can't chase him into the air. He can't. That's really my main thing. If we're talking about sword fight to sword fight, if we're talking about just purely that, then I could in an equal stats battle, I could purely give the win to Bradley. But Meliodas is a demon who can regenerate, release the Hellblaze, and create clones of himself and take to the air. He has too many options to deal with Bradley. That's the thing. Bradley is very, very good at what he does, but if what he does doesn't work, then he falls apart. That's just how it works for him, and it's messed up, but that's how the fight goes. And I spent all this time just talking about an equal stats battle. Like, actual Meliodas versus Bradley, any version of Meliodas is wild to say. I feel like, except for baby Meliodas, every version of Meliodas we've seen would absolutely wipe the floor with Bradley. Saying it right here now, even the strongest form of Bradley, because it's just too fast and too strong. And I think even in equal stats battle, Meliodas' abilities just give him that massive edge that makes the fight unfair for him. Sad to say, but true to go. Anyway, that's my view on this fight. Let's talk about what I could be doing next. So yeah, y'all know how strong this series is probably going to be happening every other week in conjunction with versus battles. So you guys just ain't getting versus battles every single week. Next week, most likely going to do Galland. Really want to do Galland. He'd be a shorter video than Zeldris, probably. He'd be a lot more simple to discuss since his moveset isn't as crazy and he doesn't have as many showings. So Galland's most likely how strong is. But I have a really important question for you. Would you guys like to see versus battles on like a leader versus their organization? Like, it would be Obito versus the Akatsuki, or Pain versus the Akatsuki, or Meliodas versus the 7 Deadly Sins, or Zeldris versus the 10 Commandments, or like the Demon King versus the Demon Clan, stuff like that, where I would just take a leader of a respective organization and be like, bam, we're slapping them against their cronies. Can the cronies, if they gang up on them, can they take them out, or can they not? Honestly, the answers may surprise you sometimes, because there is flip-flops. There's sometimes when the leader stomps, sometimes when the gang can actually win. But I'm just asking, because I can't do community posts just yet. I'm not allowed to just yet. So this is my only way of communicating with you guys and seeing what you want, except for in the comment section. but I know you guys are here watching the video. I know a lot of you read each other's comments in the comment section. So that's why I'm asking you. Would you be interested in seeing that? Let me know down below. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Every like helps. Every comment helps. Every subscribe helps. Trust me, I want to be able to do this more and more for you guys, and I always just get the motivation to do it whenever I see you guys comment and support your boy. But regardless, once again, I keep saying once again, thank you guys so much for watching. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.